my goodness, 2022 is here and it's time for more Yaris stuff, so I'm going to start with some 1ZZ injectors.
Or so I thought. This video is going to be all about how one easy little project turned into a huge ordeal, and how these eBay injectors treated me like dirt.
What is up, guys? So quick recap for people that are new to the channel because we just crossed 1,000 subscribers. This is my 2007 Toyota Yaris hatch that I've had since I was in high school. And last year I started taking it to HPDE events and a time attack series called the TRD series, which is exclusively Toyotas. And this little guy got second place in the enthusiast class. Now, this year, I am going to set my sights on first place. So we're really gonna dial in this car. This season's gonna be a lot more about driver improvement and less about mods and stuff on this car, but there are a few things that we can do. And today, we are gonna be focusing on putting 1ZZ injectors in this because I am not running lean on track, but I have occasionally, rarely had a check engine light pop up for a lean condition. It's usually actually on the way to a track if I stop for fuel that for some reason triggers it. It doesn't worry me too much because it's not happening at high revs on track, but better safe than sorry. And with the tune that we have from Chris Taylor Racing, we might actually get just a little bit more power out of the 1ZZ injectors because it's putting in more fuel. If the system is already giving more air, then we might actually make a little bit more power. So nothing but a good thing. This thing still has probably the original injectors anyway. So at very least, we're changing them out for some fresh new ones. So let's get into it.
The first thing you're going to want to do is find the fuse for your electronic fuel injection. It's going to be labeled inside your fuse box. Once you've located it, run the engine and then pull the fuse while the engine's running to let the pressure out of your fuel rail. Next, remove any plastic covering or shrouding that's preventing you from getting to your injectors. In a small engine bay like this, they're usually right on top and you can pull them out pretty easily. Then you can disconnect the fuel rail. I'm putting a paper towel down to catch as much excess fuel as possible when we finally disconnect this. Normally you can lift the whole fuel rail up, but with this engine there's a little blockage because the valve cover stops you from lifting the fuel rail. Luckily there's just enough clearance to get the injectors out. Make sure the top of your engine is clear of debris so that nothing falls down into your engine when you remove your injectors.
Okay, so this is the old injector, and then this is the new one. So they're not all that different. They're about the same size and shape. But the biggest difference is the fuel flow rate. This is like at 190, 200, and this is at 255. Now, injectors aren't the only part of your fuel system. There's also your fuel pump and your fuel rail and all the other components that would go into actually passing fuel up to your engine. But injectors are usually the bottleneck, so upping the fuel flow rate of your injectors might get you a little bit more fuel.
Injectors are normally a pretty easy swap, and the 1ZZ engine has a lot of components that can be shared with this 1NZ. I already have a 1ZZ throttle body on here, so the injector should be a good complement to what's already on this engine. Once everything's put back together, make sure you dilute any fuel that was left over or clean it off with air. Then reconnect the battery and put the fuse back in so that you're ready to start the car.
All right, so everything's connected up. I've made sure that the fuel has been cleaned and it's all dry up there. So now I'm just gonna prime the fuel pump a couple times and then start it.
So the car is running, and this is where most injector installs would stop. However, my car was running a little weird and throwing some codes too.
Okay, so I ran a scan tool and it said we were getting misfires in cylinders 1, 3, random cylinder misfire, and I think those were all from the actual startup when the injectors didn't have any fuel in them, that very initial startup. Because I cleared the codes and then started it up again, revved the car, revved it to the rev limit and back down, and I didn't get another check engine light. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna let the engine totally cool down, then I'm gonna make double, triple, quadruple sure that everything's dry in there because it is looking a little wet, and I really hope that's not fuel. So I'm gonna make sure it's absolutely bone dry and then test again. All right, engine is dry and cool again. Let's see if we get any wetness. Well, that doesn't sound like it's working all that well. Okay, so now I'm just waiting on the engine to cool down so that I can take everything apart and do it again, because any job worth doing is worth doing twice. I don't know how I screwed up something as simple as injectors.
So I took everything apart, found some spots that didn't seem like they were seated properly, and put them back together, but I was still getting codes. And honestly, even if we weren't getting a check engine light, the engine didn't sound all that happy. So I let the engine cool down and gave it another try.
Oh, you can't see, but that's like full of fuel. No bueno.
I took everything apart and reseated the injectors one more time, and it still wasn't working.
Okay, so those injectors are still misfiring. There's no leaks anymore, but pretty consistently I get a check engine light. I don't know really what to do. I've tried to reseat them a couple times. I thought maybe I just got some bad injectors, or maybe one or two are bad. So I looked at my local Toyota dealership to see what they cost. And here's the thing. They're about $200 each, a little less than $200 each from my local Toyota dealership. And I paid $50 for all four of those. So they may not be as genuine OEM as I thought. I didn't look into how much they should cost. I just Googled 1ZZ injectors and bought the thing with the Toyota logo on it. You know, in retrospect, maybe buying off of eBay is not as safe as you'd think. So for now, I'm just gonna throw the original injectors back in because I've got a track day in 2 weeks and I'm not about to spend $800 on injectors. But I learned a lot about how this should be done, and maybe I'll do the 1ZZ injectors in the future. I know the best way to get them without having to pay that full crazy price is to go down to a junkyard and pull them yourself, but you know, maybe that's what happened with these, and maybe it was not from a car that was in good condition. So, you know, I guess it's a risk that I've got to take. I'm gonna pull these out and get this car back to what it was before we started this video.
So that's not all for the injector install. At some point, I did have to stop filming because it was just getting too frustrating. I did put the 1ZZ injectors back in. The car ran fine. So I knew that I at least knew how to install injectors because I got that part working. So the next day, I went down to my local LKQ junkyard and pulled some 1ZZ injectors from a car I found there. I made sure to pull some extras just in case there were problems. I pulled 8 total, and the first 4 that I put in the car worked the first time, no problems. So I'm pretty sure those ones I got off eBay were faulty in some way. Maybe they had been rebuilt and not rebuilt very well. The O-rings and the mating surface didn't really seem like the same as the OEM ones, especially when I pulled the other 1ZZ ones. But on the other hand, brand new injectors from a dealership would have been $200 a piece, which is an insane amount of money. So all told, I actually paid less money for the junkyard injectors than I did for the eBay ones. So this can be done cheaply, and there's no reason to suspect that $10 injectors are not going to work. Just they're probably not brand new. So that was my journey of getting 1ZZ injectors into the car. They work fine. The engine runs fine now with no codes or anything like that. Maybe I'll take the car to the dyno again because I haven't had a chance to dyno it since it's had the tune and it's got new injectors now. So maybe it'll make a little bit more than 108 horsepower. And all that matters to me is that the car is running in time for the first event of the 2022 TRD series, which is going to be Buttonwillow. Again, this is going to be the third time that I've taken the car to Buttonwillow. However, there is something a little different about this event at Buttonwillow, but I'll let you guys find out what that is when the event starts. I'll catch you in the next video.